Man, this episode was... It was sad. It got me. It definitely got to me. But, we finally get some clarification to what happened to the Major Gil. Like, we knew he died. We knew that he sacrificed himself from what we found out through little details here and there. We knew he sacrificed himself for Violet. He pushed her out of the way and, managed to let her live while he, succumbed to death while he was buried in rubble. Now, it is up in the air if he somehow made it or not. We don't really know because they never found a body, but that's for a different discussion. The thing is we got to find out what led up to those events and how Violet lost her arms in the first place. We knew she lost her arms because one of the big character traits, one of the big things about her character design is that she has these, full metal arms and all that, similar to, Full Metal Alchemist, how we have our characters in that series. And when you see how she lost her arms, you're like, whoa, how far she would push herself just to save Gil. And that flashback at the beginning of this episode, it lets us know that Violet indeed was in love with Gil. It was very apparent. Even though she doesn't know what feelings she had, she's not even aware of it, you could see clearly from her just actions towards the, Major in that moment, she loved him deeply. I mean, you would not do that for just any random person, even with order's sake. I mean, she willingly lost her arms, and at the point when she had no arms anymore, she is willing to use her teeth to bite the Major's shirt and drag him up the stairs, and she eventually succumbed to blood loss. She couldn't move anymore, and she passed out, and that's how the Major saved her, by pushing her down. But that scene, though, is very powerful. It's a very powerful scene because of just seeing how the Major, he was very aware that Violet loved him. And so when he said, "I love you," it's kind of like he was saying, "I love you" back. And so that's what makes that part so sad, because Violet was in love with him. She just didn't understand it. And at the end of the day, if he is dead, she lost that, and she'll never have those feelings confirmed. She'll never really realize until she actually finds out what the meaning "I love you" means. But, I mean, pushing that to the side, though, I want to commend KyoAni for this episode, because if there's one thing that they have done really well with this series, is the fact that they can turn any series, from what I have seen, even if it's mediocre to average, they can turn a mediocre series into something very phenomenal. And I'm not saying Violet Evergarden's original source is mediocre or average, I'm just saying that KyoAni has definitely brought this series up to a whole new level. I personally haven't seen the original source, but just seeing how they've added, filler scenes, like, new stuff, anime original stuff, and we had some of those characters that were anime original in this episode kind of add on more to Violet's character. I just like this series wouldn't be like it was if it wasn't for KyoAni. I wouldn't be enjoying it as much as I am if it wasn't for, KyoAni. And they've done a good job. And I truly love this episode for visual-wise, to just how the camera angles were done, and I mean, just the way they had certain emotions in certain scenes, it really hit me. And also the close-ups of Violet's face, too. I mean, just overall, a very good episode, well-executed episode, and I'm just very floored by how good this series has been. Because normally, I mean, I typically stop reviewing KyoAni series, and the reason why is not because I hate KyoAni's work and I hate the series they make. I usually stop reviewing those type of series because they typically can be very slow-paced, and there's not usually much to talk about because of how they structure their series. But like I said, that doesn't mean it's bad, it's just, I typically stop because there's not really much to talk about overall from what I have seen. But this series, Violet Evergarden, it keeps dragging me back, it keeps making me want to make more and more videos on it because of just how enjoyable it really is. And once again, that's just how I felt about this episode. Shelving that for now, though, I just want to talk about what the meaning of this episode was. So, as we all know, throughout the flashbacks we've gotten in these recent episodes, Violet, she was looked at like a tool, a weapon, and in some cases she was. I mean, it's not right that people view her like that, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense why people viewed her like a weapon or a tool, because when she was just slaughtering people on the battlefield, she had no emotion, she didn't show any emotion, she was just cutting people down like it was nothing, and she looks like a monster while doing it. And seeing how she has done this, she has stained her hands, she has destroyed many people's hopes and dreams, and now Violet is starting to realize what she has done, and that's what really goes along with this whole theme of her, making letters, ghostwriting and stuff. That's what fits with this, because Violet right now, it's a reoccurring theme that's popped up a few times. Violet asks, am I like, am I right for this job? Should I do this? Because, I mean, for who I am. She's always questioning, like, is she allowed to be happy or do this type of job because of what she's done in the past? And as we know, since she's ended many lives, she's caused where many cannot potentially ever have their dreams fulfilled, meet their loved ones, and Violet now understands what that pain really means. Now knowing that the major is basically gone, and that's why she's constantly questioning, should I do this in the first place? Am I worthy of this job of being like a doll because of what I have done? And it makes her a very powerful moment, because you're like, whoa, it does make a lot of sense why she would ask or think that way, because, I mean, if you ended so many people's lives and you're trying to bring joy to people by giving them a letter, and you realize how much joy it gives people when you give them a letter, and then you notice you've killed a lot of people and they can never receive a letter like that, you'd feel awful about yourself. And I do like what, the Colonel said at the end. It holds a lot of weight. He said that you can never forget, or, I guess, atone completely for what you have done in the past. Like, you can't forget it, it's not gone, you are burnt up, that will never disappear. Those scars, those wounds, they'll not disappear. But then he goes on and states that you've also done a lot of good. You have helped a lot of people, delivered letters, made people smile, ghostwriting for people. I mean, you've done a lot of good deeds, and he's like, you shouldn't forget that as well. Even though you've done some heinous things, you have ended so many people, don't also negate the good stuff you've done as well, which I find also a very big message for real life. It definitely goes along with how real life is nowadays, and here's an example. Someone could be a heavenly individual. Someone could be the nicest guy you've ever known. He can be someone that's almost perfect, okay? Now, once again, nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. But he can be almost near perfect, this person, he or she, and they do one wrong thing. They do one bad thing. They say something or do something wrong one time, and all of the good they have done was negated in that moment. Everybody focuses on the bad. And I felt like that's kind of what, the Colonel was wanting to say. He's like, look, I know many want to just focus on the bad and what you have done, but also think about the good you have done, the good you're doing right now. You've saved so many people, you've helped so many people, and like I said, that just fits with real life stuff. That's what I've seen in real life. One person does one wrong thing, ruins everything, all the good they have done. And that's the sad part about all of it. But, anyways, talking about other things, though, Violet, she also did something very surprising in this episode. She, from what I could see, it looked like she tried to kill herself. She was actually trying to choke herself, and I'm like, what? Like, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you become painfully aware of what you have done, I could see why you would try that, but I mean, just like, I didn't think Violet would go that far, and it just shows now how guilty she feels because of everything. For her to even attempt something like that, for her to want to end it all, that's just like, man. And then also the dreams as well, that's a certain sign of PTSD as well. And I mean, I talked about this when the series first began, when, Violet Evergarden started. I said that most likely the main female character, she's going to be like a victim. She's going to be someone that has PTSD after a war, and it's like her recovering after everything. And that's exactly what the series is starting to turn into with this episode, where they're having a dream like that and then seeing things. It just proves that she's definitely having PTSD, and it's just all coming right now because she realizes the horrors that she did. So, yeah. I really like this episode for what it did. Just to the symbolism, to the art and animation, to the beautiful music. I mean, just everything about this episode, I think that KyoAni couldn't have done a better job. It was just enjoyable from start to finish, and like I said, it gave me a lot of feels. So I want to ask, how do you feel about this week's episode of Violet Evergarden? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. I'm very curious to see how all of you feel about it, and how do you feel about how this episode ended? I mean, looking at it, when Violet, when she walked out at the end, when she realized, like, she needs to continue moving forward, it's kind of like she was reborn. She died and got reborn in that moment, and it was also very symbolic, because the episode was called Violet Evergarden, and it's kind of like she is now a new person. The old Violet Evergarden has died, and the new one has been reborn, and she is continuing to move forward as a new person to help others out. I do like the message of the episode for that, especially at the end, and I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next, and what's, going to happen happen to Violet? Is she going to change? And also the setup, too, for the people resisting as well, the resistance force in this episode that was introduced. It does make me wonder if Violet will be drafted back into the war or not, or will she decide to say no? I'm curious about that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you enjoyed this episode. If you like my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And I love you guys. Please be safe. Chibi out.